eating that are making me better than you. What I'm eating is a cereal that comes out of Texas called it's called Onyx Sorghum multi-grain cereal or something. And this Onyx Sorghum says Onyx Sorghum Sorghum. So the Onyx Sorghum they use in the cereal, which I think is a kind of wheat that has been developed at Texas A&M. Um, so it's only in Texas you can get the cereal, supposedly. Um, it has there are units they measure antioxidants in, and blueberries are a relatively well-known version, or well-known antioxidant, and it only has 2 to 3,000 of these units. What they're called ORAC units. In this cereal, there are 36,000 ORAC units. So it's like you're getting 18 times the benefit of blueberries eating this wheat cereal. And so this is literally the Wheaties that you want to be eating if you're an Olympic figure, because your digestion system creates these things called free radicals, and if you can just imagine any kind of chemical process is going to break up a molecule into subparts. Some of those parts they don't get used; they just get discarded. And where do they go? They go to places like the brain to send through neuron connections and stuff, and it contributes to dementia and it contributes to cancer. It. That's what radicals do, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to capture all those radicals and keep them from destroying stuff in the rest of your body. So it's best that you're digesting something that's going to attract the radicals back and keep them from causing cancer, which, radiation can cause cancer. Radiation can send through the neurons. That's what these radicals are doing, is they're just basically radiation. They're radioactive isotopes or something that go through your body and screw it up. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to intercept those radicals so they don't screw up other cells. You give them cells that are there to protect the body, like the immune system, and it takes advantage of that immune system to keep these radicals from singeing through neurons and causing cancer. And so if I live to be 110, everybody will know well why I lived to be 110. It wasn't exercise, that's for sure. I'm 500. I'm 50 years old now, and I'm at like 320 pounds, and I don't even feel like I'm 320 pounds. Got a bigger abdomen now, and the one of the other things I feel is something called edema, which is swelling of the legs, and so to counteract that, I'll take compression hose. Compression hose is what old guys wear around, but what they really do is they make your legs feel fantastic by increasing the circulation in the legs. If you're an older gentleman and you've got what are called varicose veins, some people say varicose veins. What a varicose vein is a vein where the blood can't find an outlet. It's kind of like a dead end road, and so the blood ends up filling the varicose vein but not going anywhere. And what you do when you get older in life is you have them do surgical procedures where they'll stick something down the center of one of those varicose veins, and they've done this a number of ways. One of them is to strip the vein out inside out. So if you can imagine having let me see if I can come up with a good example of something that works like this. If you put a line of plastic or some tubular piece of plastic in your body that had the consistency of a plastic bag, what would be the easiest way to take it out? And that is to stick a hook down inside, grab the edge of the of the thing that's got a significant amount of integrity, like packaging, and then you pull it, and it rips that packaging from everything, and you end up with, I mean, if you get rid of that person, them not being there is going to be even worse because the antioxidants that they had were preventing other things from happening. Now, if that land is radioactive, it's going to be much more radioactive by not having humans there to absorb all the particles that cause cancer. So it's in your best interest, if you're a human, not to go to a freshly burnt forest, because that forest is giving off tons and tons of radiation of a particular kind, and that radiation does really well in certain areas where the others, So it's my anti-cancer cereal, and plus I've had wheat cereal for such a long time that it doesn't even really matter to me anymore. Um, its limitations. I'm finding new freedoms by having the NS character. Like it doesn't dismay me that the guy that was a while ago still alive. Okay, I'm losing train of thought. I'm gonna get into the game. Ha ha. Mm. Oh man. A, a number of things that will cause free radicals is your digestive system, and this is another one that I don't often share, but is available. Is mhm. I really don't need to be on this faction, but that's what the game puts me on, is the VS faction. And it shuts them up because you're using NS weapons. You can use NS weapons in place of other weapons that would annoy people, especially if you have a tendency to go into chat and annoy people of bases that are getting taken. This new technology, or uh, I just call this a legend. So those guys are out there eating tons of blueberries, and I'm getting all that satisfying antioxidants from this cereal, like 18 times as much as some Yahoo who's sitting there eating granola early in the morning. So companies are worried about. Ah, shit. So I'm basically roadside. I'm the AARP virtual roadside assistance. I'm an NS character. And it's great because when you get to that level and you get to be really good at the game, then ladders just don't really matter anymore. Yeah, you can't let the free radicals loose. They'll just screw up everything. People don't get about truck people. Mm. Ah! It's a perfect antidote for me. Because they found that I just waste a lot of time in faction chat. There's no point in having faction chat available to NS characters, so you'll never hear them talk up to the rest of the group. Hey, Europeans, go back to your sex bars and your free ideas and your granola grandiose sense of self-worth and stuff. We're the NS characters. We're here to fix shit. We we're just bots, and we understand what is evil is to be a bot that's misunderstood. So then you just use more words. You multiply your words. Have I popped the shield yet? Okay. So Stuart Smalley takes Michael Jordan, has him face the mirror, and he says, repeat after me, Michael. He said, I am a camera, and I do this, and how you're gonna justify or even cut off or. Shit. Huh. Nobody plays in his characters because you can't use the faction special weapons. Like you can't fly around in a javelin and fix the problems. You're going to draw fire, so you wear a counter intel implant, so that when they draw fire, you can instantly see where the enemy is, and then they have to go make themselves propane, not ever actually get a chord progression load in it. We don't even have the recording. Uh, there's no molecules out there, no basic molecules out there gratching onto these free radicals, keeping them from going anywhere but out the butt, so. Because that's where they go. I mean, that's where all your waste goes, is out your butt, right? And so what this is just some waste that latches on to stuff that would harm you, and but it gets expelled out of the butt like everything else. Nobody's going to target you because you've leased the. Aha! Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Aha! See, it's not simply eating your Wheaties. Wheaties. I don't eat Wheaties. I don't think I've ever. Woo! Threw me out to the big map. I've let's see. I don't. I don't eat Wheaties. I eat wheat cereal. I eat flakes. Wheat flakes that has a little bit of a taste to it. It's a little bit sugary. It's not sugary, and so diabetes. You know. Oh, I'm so tired. Okay. It's one thing I'm not doing my body any justice with. It's my lack of sleep. But I got 6 hours. I just still tired. It used to be a time whenever I was young, and I would stay up all hours of the night, and but I had solutions to problems that nobody has to deal with today. I had an Amiga 1000. I consider it to be the first real computer. Macintoshes really weren't really good computers. The PCs were not really very good computers. The most efficient would be the ones that have harnessed and exploited um, custom designs, custom ideas. And there are guys that know how to capture not only the chair radicals, they can get in and either take out C4 and they'll fix the problem. Yeah. Aha! Haha. Just passed out. I'm gonna go and get something to drink, come back. Oh man. Get some caffeine in me because there's no way I'm gonna get through the day without it. Yeah. So what happened was when I was young and I had aphasia. One of the effects of aphasia is that a number of things happen. It's a communicative disorder. It doesn't permit you to perceive audio correctly. So, I mean, you can only pay attention to one person talking. If you're in a group of people and a lot of people are talking, you can't make heads or tail of anything anybody's saying. And so you either think of things you would rather think about and you don't communicate with anybody in the group, or you take somebody aside and you talk to them, but you usually don't interact. What you end up doing is just sitting there just bombarding that person with everything that's going through your head like 100 miles an hour. And so it's fairly easy if you've got aphasia to become a human podcast, because all your ideas are just, if you learn how to communicate, you can just throw tons of them at people, and some people are just lost in all the crap of stuff but if this is not aphasia, then this is me, But when I was young, I didn't have the capacity to use the lex, the words of a good of someone that has the ability to harness the language and communicate ideas to people. I didn't have that when I was younger, and so as a result of that, I would get super frustrated when people didn't understand what was wrong, what was going through my head, why I needed to have certain things, and they'd give me the wrong things, and I was just like, if I could only tell you what it is that I'm thinking, it would be so nice, but I can't. So all I can do is attack the fuck out of you, and bounce off the walls and hit walls and do things of that nature. That's what happens whenever you have the inability to communicate what's in your head to somebody else. And so you can imagine this probably happens to people who are foreigners in foreign land. It probably happens. It's probably why people will get aggressive, is because they don't have the capacity to transfer what's in their head to your head, through the use of the language. And so it's much easier for me to type up a bunch of text and do it that way. And the reason why I chat instead of using audio is because if I use the audio, it confuses me to be in interaction with people through audio because of my disability. So it's so much easier for me to text stuff. Now, even though you understand I'm sitting here talking and I'm letting you know all this stuff, I can't interact. What is the problem with me is not the audio coming out of me, it is the audio going into me. So whenever people are talking stuff, I can only pay attention to one person. I can't listen to I can't be in a crowd of people where everybody's talking and be able to like really separate out one person. If it's really loud. If it's not so loud, I can do it well. But certain words that they'll throw out, I'll be confused about, of grammar and of all the various sorts of just words that are available, and I have to decipher what they're saying, because some of that stuff is not getting deciphered by my brain the way it does in other people. I have to literally focus in on the sound that's coming out of their mouths and try to I do basically a kind of like I'm kind of a Sherlock Holmes in a mystery, where the mysteries are the words that my brain doesn't capture, and I have to kind of figure out, okay, what could those words actually be, and then if based upon all the words that are surrounding them and how things are being mechanized and leveraged, what is this one word that they said, because I don't know what it is. Sometimes I'll ask the people, can you repeat what you said, and they think that I didn't hear them. No, I didn't perceive them. Actually, Jesus said to the people, he said they're forever hearing, but never perceiving. They don't perceive what's being said. They hear the words, but they don't understand the context of the culture and think. And he was to some degree saying, someday there's going to be a book and people are going to read it and they're going to be completely mystified and they're going to be ever hearing, they're going to be ever reading, but never perceiving what it is that I'm trying to say. And it's best that I provide a mystery, because the people that don't that are going to want to shoot it down are going to shoot it down for simple, stupid stuff. And I want to present them enough of that BS so that it'll catch those guys and kick them out of the room, because I don't want those people in the first place, because they're going to try to find something wrong with my text. So I'm going to throw junk at them that will piss them off and make them leave, because they're not important. They're the arrogant fucks. So the people that are left over that are going to try to figure out the mystery of what I'm talking about, those people I'm talking to, because they're encouraged, they're inspired to try to figure out what it is that I'm saying. And I was born with something that makes it doubly hard, in that not only does he have things that he says, my system will not intercept, will not be able to figure out certain words. It'll just drop certain words. I won't even try to learn what those words mean. So it's like he's talking, and certain words are just kind of like, I get the essential idea, but I'm not getting enough of it. And as I got older, I got better at being able to decipher information. And I took, in college, I took English 101, and the instructors couldn't stand me because I could never produce a complete essay on any particular topic and stick to the topic. And so they'd give me C's and C minuses. And it wasn't in, I didn't understand anything about sentence structure, or actually just the syntax using periods and commas and parenthetical statements, until I took technical writing in college. My technical writer instructor, I'm trying to remember her name. She's really good, but she laid it out for me on all the shit I could do in an English text, and still be close enough that it wouldn't piss off people that read the language and are trying to figure out what's going on. There's a thing called a parenthetical statement. It's when you make a parentheses, you stick text in it, and you can put parenthetical statements anywhere in a text, but preferably next to words that don't have enough description. So you put a parenthetical statement. The parenthetical statement gives you some context to what's being, to the message. So you might put in it. Might put caveats. A caveat is is something that you need to kind of consider to kind of excuse stuff. So like I would be talking along, and then I would say, caveat, I've got aphasia. Usually caveats go at the very end of a text to describe things that people should know to understand the context of the guy who's speaking, and to say things like, these are my own views, these are not the view of the corporation that I work for. That would be part of your caveat. You could probably have postscript, P.S. I love you. That's postscript. That's what that, and postscript means after the script. So you put your postscripts out at the end. You might have a foreword or something like a caveat at the very beginning that tells everybody, hey, this is all my opinion, and if you see something that looks like truth, take it with a grain of salt, because it's probably just me trying to make my opinion sound like a statement, a fact, because I do that a lot myself. But anyhow, I have superior abilities, and the superior abilities come out whenever I have to make up for something that's not there. And this works in the way of doing tools. Whenever I was when I was 16 or 17, I got an Amiga 1000. An Amiga 1000 was a Commodore product. The guys that created the Commodore 64, and there was Atari. They had their own computer. I think it was called an Atari XT or something. It had some, I forgot what they're called. Atari. Yeah, they had their own computer, their own fast computer with a graphical user interface. Commodore had an earlier one that had Geos, which was close but not the same as what a Amiga is. Apple had the Macintosh, but the Macintosh wasn't all that great because it didn't have what the Amiga had. And Windows was okay, but it didn't have what the Amiga had. And so you could go to all the computers and not ever actually get all the shit you got with the Amiga. What the Amiga did is it took a regular 68,000 chip, and which is what goes in your Macintosh, and it did a number of things. For instance, it lowered the clock frequency of the CPU to be a multiple of the NTSC video frequency, so that the Amiga could be used to it could be used for video for multimedia video type stuff. It had a sprite system inside of it that permitted you to create multi-bit color, but each sprite was on a separate graphic plane or something, and so you could create multiple colors by adjusting the memory. That was that, and then it also had 4-voice 8-bit sample playback. It had a preemptive multitasker. That means it had a clock that would go off at a certain frequency, and what the clock does is it periodically interrupts the CPU to let it know that what it's been doing for like the last so many nanoseconds or whatever is already done enough for one task. It has to interrupt itself with a clock. The clock says, "Okay, buzzard, you got to stop what you're doing." And so what the CPU does is it takes its internal registers and it throws the registers on a thing called a stack, and then it pops off. What it will probably do is it'll probably pop something off the stack, off a different stack. So one stack carries all of its recursion, all of the things it interrupted itself from, and then another one will have different other kinds of registers that it can load in. I don't fully understand it now, but I understand the concept. So this is how it's able to multitask, is it just switches between one task and another, one set of instructions and another, and it changes its behavior every time a clock chimes off. It swaps out its brain to a little storage cell, and then it goes and it loads up a brain of an application. So it's kind of like it doesn't have to figure out where it was. It knows exactly where it is. It just doesn't have the capacity to do everything at once. So it keeps a little meta tag or a meta piece of information, some data, to let it know what it was doing the last time it was executing a certain part of the program. And actually included in that data is the program counter and things of that nature. And so I don't know why this guy's shooting at me. I think what he's doing is he's saying, "Dude, we know that you're super special. Why aren't you helping us win this game?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. Hey, let's check that out." Maybe he's trying to get me to check out his plane that's like sitting up here in the air, and he's like, "Hey, you want it?" And I said, "Yeah, it is kind of, you could stand on it and walk around." So it's kind of like, "Hey, check out my plane." It's like, "Are you there?" I said, "Yeah, this is kind of cool. Yeah, that's neat." Isn't it funny how it's just hovering up there? It's because the bounding box for the warp gate is about 8 feet high, So anyhow, they're wanting me to get into the game because they know I'm special, and if I don't, then they're probably going to lose. So I am playing on VS, which is I always get put on VS, and the reason why is because they never have enough guys on online. The VS are kind of the most despised faction, so nobody has any real reason to play them, and part of that has to do with the fact that don't their weapons are gaudy and noisy, and so the VS spend most of their time kind of being really discreet, quiet. They tend to be snipers. They don't like to go around in broad view and shoot big weapons unless that's really what they want to do. So they have a tendency to snipe. They have a tendency to go around, do recon, and try to. They're basically the guys that will go out and steal shit that, steal bases and nobody will ever notice. But they don't have the benefit of having weapons that can be silenced. Most of their weapons cannot be silenced, and they're so noisy and flamboyant that nobody wants to. I mean, that either you're all out and you're just kicking ass, or you're just kind of trying to keep quiet all the time. On TR, everybody has really good machine guns, and so they're all about the more guns I have, the better off I am. Um, so so I call them the dumb blondes of the dumb blondes of Planetside, because they figure, I'm dumb blonde, I'm gonna have big tits, and because of my big tits, I'm gonna be super attractive, and so I don't even have to even really try. And their big tits are their big guns, just say big guns. And the big guns, all you have to do is just uh, spray and pray, try to kill people by just sheer firepower. And that's TR. So TR are kind of also considered to be the communists. So I guess they don't work for anybody. They are all part of the government. And the VS guys are your zealots, your religious zealots, but their religion comes from an alien planet nobody understands, and they're called the Vanu because they've all kind of taken all sorts of brain enhancing drugs, and they're all like thinking each other's thoughts, and they got biotechnology, and they like to disco down, and they're maxes. You can't tell if the maxes are males or females because they got high heel shoes, but they look gnarly, like they're really big females with special stuff attached, or you know the maxes are never like really human. They're just big old machines. But anyhow, the NC is basically your average American capitalist, the guy who's for hire to do the job, but at the end of the day doesn't give a shit, goes home, does his thing, comes back to work, and then work is war. And so people say live free in the NC. You could essentially say you're all Americans, and they'd say, yeah, we're the American faction, and TR is the evil communist faction, the socialists, the guys that are all kind of there to further their government. And then Vanu is like, well, you guys are all Earthlings, and we're from the heavens. We're superior to you guys, and the truth of the matter is that all your professionals end up on VS, but VS never has enough people in the game to like really play, to like really use to be effective. So what happens is that the professionals, instead of going to VS like they used to, they go to NS characters now, and unless you know the NS character, which I let everybody know mine, you won't know how they're benefiting you. And you don't even have to be a professional to go to an NS character. You can go there as a choice of faction. But it's more common the case because of all this extra stuff you get by having that class, that of that specialized faction. That you it the benefits outweigh the the setbacks, the incapacities. Like, I can't use an ESF. I can't use faction-based jump pads, so I can't slingshot from amp stations. I can't use faction chat. It's like they designed this character specifically for me to make it easier for me to do wars, but I'm not going around telling people through text chat what needs to get done. And so they're going to be less annoyed with me, and they may still be annoyed, but I'll have to tell them I'm not of any faction, so you can't use your rhetoric to try to leverage some specialness from me, because really I'm not concerned about your faction or anybody else's faction. I'm just trying to further the game. That's all I'm about. And then you just come to realization that when you're playing the game, you're just trying to increase your cert intake, because you do things with certs. Like, I'll buy 9-pack implants, the 9-pack implant things for about 400 or 500 certs. Let's say I have 3,000 certs. If I get to a point to where I just get like 3,000 in no time at all, I will throw them at those 9-pack implants, and there's a small chance that a 9-pack implant will give you a rare. The special packs that guarantee a higher percentage of rares. And so one of the ways I used to get implants was to buy a lot of what's called something cash. There's a name for it, battle cash. I'd buy some battle cash, and then I would use it to buy a bunch of these boxes that gave me a higher percentage of getting some rares. And the rares that I'm concerned about is Infravision for one, Minor Cloak is another. These implants offer me the ability to do things nobody else can, like see where all the enemy are, so I could go and spot all the enemy rather than having to deal Where's Waldo in the dark. It's the difference. One thing I want to notice, I was talking about the Commodore Amiga earlier. The Commodore Amiga 1000 had some non-standard plugs with it. I mean, they're standard, but they were not specific to their computer, and that's the reason why you want to use shaped plugs of certain configurations, is to discourage the interaction of components that would screw each other up. So if you were doing it modern design, you might say, well, it would be better for us to have this seat a little further back so that this guy can sit there and drink a beer and have a babe on his arm. And so I'm becoming unintelligible. But the Amiga computer I had a phone jack coming from its keyboard. Me being a stupid teenager, hey, I wonder if I can do some war games hacking through the telephone line by hooking this keyboard directly to the phone line. I did. It destroyed the keyboard, and I was forced for several years to use an Amiga 1000 without a keyboard. I used a mouse. And how does that work? You select text on the screen, you copy it, and you paste it in to make up the file names in the files that you save out. And so as long as I could do that, I was okay. And eventually I got a machine, or I got a program. Yeah, I'm getting to be better. But yeah, that's one of my secret, my success as an enemy, is putting the fear into the enemy. Like, one of my more simple ones today is I can drop light anvils all over the place, and I would usually only need one, but if you found a multitude of light anvils, then you can understand what's going on. Toe tag, some mishmash. And I'm gonna need somebody like Mr. T to say I pity the fool. So, yeah. Clip.